Alright, I got a couple laps here, so I'm gonna just kind of walk you guys through it. So, you heard me and Phil talking about this. I'll rewind it here a couple of times. The marks I use are these white slashes that are on the track. There's 4 of them leading into turn 1. I brake at the third one, or second to last. I believe Phil was referencing this 100 brake sign right here. They're essentially in line with each other. We just use different reference points. But the second to last one's pretty much where I aim to start lifting and braking at. Let's see how accurate it is. Yeah, pretty much right as I'm crossing over, it's where I'm braking. We'll get down to second gear here. I find it easier to just kind of stay to the inside and drift out to kind of mid-track here. I've seen some people go out really wide. It gives you a little bit more momentum through there, but I've also seen people overshoot it and then you end off in the runoff area. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. You want to get it as close to these tires as possible without hitting it, and you'll see I get pretty damn close here. I mean, that's actually a little bit further than it looks like. Yeah, I mean, we still got probably a couple feet away from it. But yeah, you want to get in as close there as possible. I think Lee was asking, how far out do you go here? Do you take it all the way to the curb? I tend to keep it more mid-track to set yourself better for the S's, but you could try and carry more momentum. It just kind of messes up your line. So this is usually about where I'll take it out to. Sometimes a little bit more to the left. I feel like if I get tires onto that yellow, that's essentially overshooting it, and I don't want to do that. Going to be flat out through here. Something that you'll see, and this is kind of what I learned from Phil from that session we did the other night, was when the second red light lights up here, that's roughly 6,700 RPMs. That seems to be the optimal shifting point. Obviously, you don't want to be staring at your tack waiting for it. More important on like the oval, it just seems to get you a better launch and better use of your power. Here, the pit exit line goes from a solid line to dash lines. You want to try and get as far to the left as possible. Usually it's a fairly aggressive move. Obviously, you got to make sure people aren't coming out of the pits. But then I start braking at the last dash mark. Pretty much, yeah, right as I'm passing over it. You'll get down. You can hear me locking it up a little bit here. I was using second gear here. Phil says he uses first, so I was using first in this video. It does seem to kind of keep you to the inside a little bit better. You kind of want to treat like the end of this is like your apex, and you should be kind of accelerating once you kind of hit right here, as you'll up to 75% throttle here, and then full throttle. So I'm the full throttle pretty early. Swing out to the right. This is pretty much full speed. And I actually took it a little wide on this lap. This lap wasn't as good as the one after it. Ideally, you want to kind of get your lefts onto the yellow here. That just sets you up. You can see I miss it, which causes me to run wide here. Ideally, I want to kind of be mid-track here. You can hear me hitting the rubble strip here, which tells me I'm too wide. But then right here where this patch of pavement goes from light to dark, that's what I use as my braking marker. I believe that is what Phil was referencing when we were calling it two different things, but I think I came to a conclusion we essentially use the same marker. So, lifting, pretty heavy braking initially. Watching Phil's VRS data, I realized that I probably was getting out of the brakes too early for this turn, which was causing me to miss the essential, I guess, the second apex to accelerate off the turn better. So I tried to focus on that in these couple laps. But lift, brake right at that point, kind of enter almost straight, not trying to hit the apex here. And you diamond it. The apex you really want to hit is the end of this yellow rumble strip on the inside. That's your ideal apex to hit, which will allow you, I mean, you can see I'm already in full throttle right here, and I'm carrying it all the way off. I stay in third gear here. I don't think there's a need to shift to fourth. But again, this is what me and Phil were talking about. Okay, I see what he's talking about now. He calls this a walkway. I kind of consider that part of the track. But right where the light part ends is where I start braking. Maybe a tick before. Okay, maybe I do it more so at the start of that walkway. I think I was just a little confused. But yeah, I do it at the start of their walkway, so essentially where the yellow ends. Down to second gear, you want to kind of get out wide. It's good if you hear your tires on the rumble strip, but I think Lee and I both discovered that if you get it too wide, you get it into this dirt, and then it will death hook, and it will try and send you towards this tire barrier here, which is no bueno. So probably a little bit safer is a better idea. But essentially right when I think I'm going over the end of this yellow to this runoff area here is where I start a turn in. And I'm kind of easing out of the brakes. You can see I'm completely out of the brakes at this point, and I'm letting it roll a little bit. And then I want to apex it on top of this yellow rumble strip, which will give you a good drive off. Ease back into the throttle. This turn is very easy to loop it on if you are not careful. I know I did it in practice once or twice, so you want to kind of feather the throttle a little bit until you go to max. If you can get it to apex here, that's good. That just keeps it nice and tidy, but then you would take it up the track a little bit to kind of maximize your speed that you're carrying. You don't want to try and hug the yellow line necessarily once you... Here, obviously shifting at 6,700. You'll get it all the way to 6th gear. The bus stop is another area that I realized I was braking too early. So in the cup car when we were doing this, I was braking at this little patch. And then I realized, okay, that's too early for this car. So then I started braking at the 2 sign here, which is a little bit past it. And then Phil told me I was a bitch, essentially, and that you can carry even more speed than that. So this yellow light here is actually a pretty good reference point. I don't think you can go all the way to it before you lift and brake, but you can get pretty close to it. I mean, you can see I'm right here short of it when I start doing it. So kind of between the 2 and the light post. I end up blowing the exit to this chicane. But I downshift to 4th. This is something else I learned from Phil. I was downshifting to 3rd here previously. But if you downshift to 4th initially, you want to get your lefts. Really, you can cut this entry point really, really well. Like, you can cut it pretty significantly and not cause any impact. But once you're hitting that first apex is when you're going to downshift to 3rd. So I'll go back, play it a little bit quicker. Down to 4th. Hit the apex down to 3rd. And you can see I'm still braking all through here. And sometimes I'll even carry the brake a little bit past this right-hander before you get back onto the throttle. This is the part I blow. I go way wide. You want to get your right sides on the yellow here, usually. But I end up missing it. Go way wide. Ends up not being an off course somehow. Even though you can see I was probably a couple inches from it being an off course, but kind of ruined that exit, which then kills your speed the rest of the lap. I think this lap ends up being a 42.7. I'm going to let this next one play out a little bit more at speed. I'll just kind of walk you through it as it's going. So, turn 1, second to last slash. Get it down to second, kind of keep it mid-track. Get as close to those tires as possible. Carry some speed, keep it mid-track here. Accelerate through. You're going to get up to 4th gear here, I believe. The end of the slash is you're braking. All the way down to 1st. Keep it really tight to this yellow line. Accelerate where it ends. Full speed through here. Here I clip it better, which keeps me here where the gray, light gray ends. All the way down to 1st. Keep it nice and tidy. Accelerating all the way off where the gray starts. Actually, you know what? Let's rewind that. Maybe I do carry more speed usually. Okay, so I do it like halfway on this, but this sidewalk's your reference point. You want to just run low. You're just giving away tenths if you run up high. Essentially, faster lap traffic should be passing you on the outside. I hit this apex a lot better here. I think I do it just shy of the light pole again. Yeah, so pretty much same spot. In between the 2 sign and the light pole. Down to 3rd. Keep it tidy. That's a lot better drive off. I think I gained like 4 tenths watching the gauge on this lap. But yeah, that's really it. I mean, this is obviously going for some pretty max speed. You're not necessarily going to want to do this every lap. You want to do what's comfortable for you. But those are kind of the visual cues that I look for. I think Phil's probably very similar. Like I said, he uses the 100 sign here. For me, that's I don't want to look left to figure out where it is. So I just know where it is on the track. But yeah, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Later.